There are moments in life when you feel like the whole world knows your story. Not the good parts, the parts you wish people would forget, the mistakes, the whispers, the quiet looks people give when they think you don't notice. And sometimes, those moments make you want to disappear. That's where this story begins. In a quiet place, under the blazing heat of the midday sun, the road through Samaria was dusty and long. Travelers usually passed through early in the morning or later in the evening when the air was cooler. But not today. The sun hung high in the sky, burning down on the land. The ground was dry. The air was still. And near the edge of a small town sat an old well. It had been there for generations. People came every day to draw water. But most of them came together, early in the morning, friends talking, neighbors laughing, families sharing news. But one woman came alone, and she came at noon. She carried her water jar along the dusty path. Step by step, the quiet suited her. No curious questions, no sideways glances, no whispers behind her back. She had learned a long time ago that silence could sometimes feel safer than people. So she came when the town stayed inside, when the heat kept everyone else away. Just her and the well, or at least, that's what she expected. As she approached, she noticed someone sitting there. A man, resting beside the well. His clothes were dusty from travel. He looked tired, like someone who had walked a long way. She hesitated for a moment. Travelers passed through sometimes, but something about this moment felt unexpected. Still, she kept walking. She needed water, and the well was right there. The man looked up as she approached. His eyes were calm, kind even. But what happened next surprised her, because the man spoke first. "Will you give me a drink?" She stopped. Not because the request was strange, but because who he was made it strange. You see, the man was a Jew, and she was a Samaritan. In those days, Jews and Samaritans didn't associate with each other. They avoided each other whenever possible. There was a long history of division, suspicion, even resentment between them, and men rarely spoke publicly with women they didn't know, especially alone like this. So she looked at him with honest confusion and said, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" The man didn't react with offense. He didn't argue. He simply answered with quiet confidence. "If you knew the gift of God, and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." Living water? She looked down at the well. It was deep, and he had no bucket, no rope, no jar. So she said what anyone might say, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water?" Then she added something else, something honest. "Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well?" It was a reasonable question. After all, this well had served generations. What could possibly be better? The man smiled slightly, and then he said something that sounded simple, but carried deeper meaning. "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become a spring of water, welling up to eternal life." She listened, and something about his words stirred curiosity, because everyone knew what thirst felt like. Not just the thirst for water, but the other kinds too, the deeper ones. The thirst for peace, for belonging, for something in life that actually lasts. So she said, "Sir, give me this water, so I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." But then the conversation took an unexpected turn. The man looked at her and said gently, "Go, call your husband and come back." The words landed quietly, but heavily, because that was the part of her story she couldn't hide. She looked down at the ground and answered honestly, "I have no husband." The man nodded and said something that stopped her completely. "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have said is quite true." She froze. How could he know that? This man was a stranger. He wasn't from her town. He had never met her before. And yet somehow, he knew the very details of her life. The parts no one said out loud. The parts people whispered about. But here's what's remarkable. He didn't say it with judgment. There was no accusation, no shame, just truth, spoken with quiet understanding. And in that moment, something shifted. "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet." Her mind raced. If he truly knew things like this, maybe he could answer something people had argued about for generations. So she asked a question about worship, about where people should worship God. On this mountain? Or in Jerusalem? It had been a long-standing debate between their people. But the man didn't get caught up in the argument. Instead, he spoke about something deeper. A time was coming, he said, when true worship wouldn't be about a location, not a mountain, not a city, but about the heart. True worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. God, he explained, is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. She listened carefully, and then she said something hopeful. "I know that Messiah is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything." And then the man said something simple, something powerful, something that changed the moment forever. "I, the one speaking to you, am he." For a second, the world seemed to pause. The quiet well, the still air, the midday sun, and the realization slowly settling in. The man she had been speaking with, the one who knew her story, the one who spoke about living water, the one who spoke about worship and truth, was the Messiah. Just then, his disciples returned from town. They were surprised to see him talking with a woman, but no one said anything. And the woman, she left her water jar behind, the very reason she came, forgotten, because something more important had just happened. She turned and ran back toward the town, the same town she usually tried to avoid, the same streets where people whispered. But this time, she wasn't hiding. She was running straight toward them. And she began telling everyone she saw, "Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah?" And something about her excitement, her sincerity, her transformation made people curious. They came out of the town to see for themselves. It's amazing when you think about it. The woman who came to the well trying to avoid people became the person inviting everyone to meet Jesus. The one who once carried shame now carried a message. The one who once came alone now brought an entire town with her. And it all started with a simple moment, a tired traveler, a quiet well, and a conversation that changed everything. Because sometimes, the moment you expect least, the place you feel most overlooked, is exactly where God meets you. Not with condemnation, not with rejection, but with truth, with grace, and with living water that never runs dry. And that is the story of the woman at the well. If this story meant something to you today, take a moment to reflect on it, because sometimes the same invitation still echoes today. Come, listen, and discover the living water that changes everything.